Do you love comic strips? Have you ever wondered about the winding path from an artist's hand to a newsprint page or your screen? I've spent the last few years researching this question, and with your help, the answer will be in my book, How Comics Were Made, a visual history from the drawing board to the printed page. Hi, I'm Glenn Fleishman, a journalist and printing historian who specializes in production and reproduction of newspaper comics. How Comics Were Made is a heavily illustrated book that takes you from the strokes of a pen or a digital stylus through all the transformations required to bring comics, whether a full-page masterpiece in days gone by or the scaled-down versions of today, to your doorstep or to your browser. This full-color book will reveal the glory of the past and the promise of today, answering both questions you have and never knew you did. Did you wonder how Sunday comics got their color? What is a Ben-Day dot, and how is it used to apply tints? And how is something called dragon's blood involved in making those tints stick? Why can cartoonists work in paint and watercolor today, but they couldn't 40 years ago or longer? How did cartoonists figure out what kind of line to draw that would read well on newsprint? Get to know the ins and outs of relief metal printing processes from the 1890s to the 1980s through photos, illustrations, production materials, and cartoons. And then learn about the modern era of flat or offset printing that replaced metal with photographic and then digital methods, and find out how newspaper and webcomics are made today. So far, I've interviewed nearly 40 cartoonists, historians, academics, and comics production people, including Lynn Johnston of For Better or For Worse, Derf Backderf of The City and Kent State, Barbara Brandon Croft of Where I'm Coming From, Bill Griffith from Zippy the Pinhead, Tahid Bondia, Crabgrass, Paige Braddock, Jane's World, and many others. A full list appears in the project story. I've also carried out extensive research in several library collections, including the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library Museum at The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, and the Charles M. Schulz Museum and Research Center in Santa Rosa, California. I'll be including images from those libraries, from my personal collection of hundreds of historic cartoon printing artifacts, and those generously provided by cartoonists and syndicates from their own archives or collections. There's still a lot of work to do. The writing is underway, and I've hired a designer, Mark Kaufman, with whom I've been working on the cover and an interior design. You can see the cover and view and download a preview chapter in the project story. I need to pay licensing fees to reproduce material under copyright, pay for additional travel expenses to visit more collections, hire an editor, a proofreader, an indexer, and, of course, pay the printing and shipping bill when the time comes. All of that adds up. To make this book a reality, I hope I can tap your interest in backing the campaign at any level. Help me tell the story of cartooning and cartoonists across 130 years of newspaper comic strips and the fascinating way in which they were made and still are today. Thank you.